Hello, welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. Today we're going to look at King Kong items, King Kong toys and memorabilia. I thought early in the season I wanted to do a Godzilla episode, and this is back when Godzilla vs. Kong was still getting moved around the schedule, the movie, when it was going to be released, what year was it going to be released. So I had no intention of connecting an episode with the movie. But I want to do an episode about Godzilla's gang, the bagged vinyl figures, and then maybe expand that into like Shogun Godzilla and stuff. And one thing led to another, and that episode kept getting pushed back. And then I thought, well, I'll make it, like one of the last episodes of the season. And then I thought, hey, Godzilla vs. Kong is coming out. Wouldn't it make sense to do a Godzilla and King Kong episode? So I started planning that out. And I realized it would be a 3-hour long episode. So I'm going to break this into 2 parts. This is part 1 about King Kong. And then part 2 will be about Godzilla toys. I have more King Kong than I do Godzilla. I really don't have a lot of Godzilla. But we'll see. I didn't think I had this much King Kong until I started making a list of things. And this isn't everything. There's stuff I couldn't find or it wasn't easy to get to. This is just what I could access and what I could remember. Just looking around. What I got this, I got this, and came up with this. So let's talk about King Kong. I got a lot of stuff. I have no plan. I have no rhyme or reason. Let me preface it by saying King Kong is the original 33 King Kong is my favorite film, followed very closely by Night of the Living Dead, the 1968 original Night of the Living Dead. They're almost in a tie, but Kong edges out just slightly, Night of the Living Dead. I think both of those films are iconic and near perfect for what they are, what they're trying to do, and revolutionary, and really changed horror and fantasy films forevermore after that. As did several other films like Jaws. I love Jaws. That's another one of my favorite films. So I think there are 2 kinds of movies that I seem to really love. These very iconic, game-changing films where cinema was forever changed after the film came out. It created a new genre, or it revolutionized the genre. Those classic masterpieces. And then really awful, goofy, grade Z movies that just for whatever reason catch my fancy. Maybe I saw them at the right age or whatever, like the Blood Island movies or Dracula vs. Frankenstein or Shriek of the Mutilated, that kind of stuff. Because that stuff was on TV when I was a kid. And these masterpieces were on TV. King Kong, Jaws, not so much Night of the Living Dead. But I saw it, I wasn't quite a kid. Well, yeah, I was sort of a kid when I first saw Night of the Living Dead. I was just on the verge of moving from childhood into adolescence. So I was like 12 or 13 or something like that. So, I was still pretty young. But I was like an embryo when I saw King Kong. That's one of the earliest movies I remember watching. A Creature from the Black Lagoon was another one that I saw very, very early, like probably 2 or 3 years old. Hammer's Abominable Snowman was another one that I saw when I was like kindergarten age, maybe 3, 4, 5, well, not five, probably three, the Hammer Abominable Snowman. Because in kindergarten, I would play Hammer Abominable Snowman. So I'd already seen it at least once, if not a couple of times. So these are movies that I saw at just the right age. And it was this weird mix because we had the horror host, we had the horror movies on Saturday, Friday nights, and Sunday afternoons. So there was this mix of these classics and then fairly recent, for that time, recent drive-in schlock all kind of mixed together. And all this had an impression on me. And I think it was all very formative in making me who I am. But there's this something about the original King Kong. It's so it goes beyond being a movie, and I think becomes mythology. It's a 20th century myth. And I don't want this to be, because I could spend 3 hours analyzing King Kong. I think there's much better videos to watch if you want to see serious cinematic discussion about King Kong and why that's a classic and why that's important, why that's a great movie. And certainly there's criticism of King Kong, or at least its role in 21st century culture, and the context that you need to use in watching it. I think if I were introducing it to a young person, I would give some context about some of the cultural changes since that movie was made. And I would tell them, it was a different time and people had some different ideas about things. It was a different world. That said, I wouldn't deny letting a child watch King Kong or any old movie, well, with a few exceptions, but I wouldn't say because we're living in different times, therefore a kid shouldn't be able to watch an older movie, just as long as they have parental guidance or guidance from an older person who can give it context and explain things. It's such a simple story. It's such a fairy tale, a fable, that allows it to be timeless and universal, and every generation can read different things into it, and it's all valid. There's no right or wrong way to analyze it. It doesn't matter what the filmmakers were thinking at the time. It's art. It's true, real art, as opposed to, a popcorn movie, although it was that as well. And it's perfectly valid to read many different symbolic meanings into the film. And that keeps it fresh, keeps it alive. It's a topic of discussion. Every generation sees something different in it. Sometimes they like what they see, sometimes they don't like what they see. And I hope it'll stay alive for generations to come. It won't be long. It's almost 100 years now, another decade, and another dozen years, and it'll be the 100th anniversary of that film. Hopefully I'll still be around and I'll still be watching King Kong. Now, there's been all kinds of sequels and follow-ups. Son of Kong was a direct sequel. I'd say Mighty Joe Young, I would call that a follow-up, even though there isn't a character of Kong in it. It was made by the same people, has the same male lead, has a similar story. The special effects were led by the same guy. So I would call that a follow-up. And together, Kong, Son of Kong, Mighty Joe Young is a trilogy. It's the giant ape trilogy made by the same team. And then we didn't get another proper, well, I don't know if I call it proper, we didn't get another Kong sequel until Toho with King Kong versus Godzilla, the original, and then King Kong Escapes. And then in 1976, we had the Dino De Laurentiis King Kong remake, the first real remake of the original story. And then we had King Kong Lives in the 80s. And am I forgetting anything? I think that was it until a Peter Jackson remake. I feel like I just forgot something, but I don't think so. King Kong Lives, then Peter Jackson remake in 2005, I believe. I think so. 2005. We don't need to get into my thoughts on those films. I definitely have opinions on those, but we're not here to talk about Peter Jackson film per se. But then the next big thing would be Kong of Skull Island, and now Godzilla versus Kong. Now, all of those other movies, they have their strengths and weaknesses, and some I like more than others. All of the films after the original Kong. But Kong of Skull Island, I felt like that was the first time that I'd seen the real King Kong, the character, on the screen since the 1933 movie. He's not in Son of Kong. He's not in Mighty Joe Young. He's that thing that's in King Kong versus Godzilla. That's one of Toho's weakest monster suits. And it's a shame because the Godzilla in that movie is one of their best monster suits. But the gorilla is not a good monster suit. And the movie's not very good. It's one of their weaker efforts. And King Kong Escapes, I like that movie. I like that. And I like the suit. I think the participation of Rankin Bass in that film helped elevate the design of the characters. So I like that, but still, it's nothing compared to the original King Kong. I like the Dino De Laurentiis movie. I remember when that was new, and I remember all the hype about it. We'll talk about that in a second. It's not a great movie, but I like it, and I haven't seen it in a long time, and I've been really itching to revisit that, the Laurentiis film. Never saw King Kong Lives, not really interested in seeing it. The Peter Jackson film, I had high hopes about that, and some worries that it would supplant the original Kong. Those worries were unfounded. when I saw the Peter Jackson film, I was like, I couldn't believe. I know a lot of people like it. I personally did not like it. I couldn't believe, in fact, how much I did not like it. It wasn't, so-so, it wasn't okay. It was a big fail for me. I know Peter Jackson is the world's #1 King Kong fan. Maybe he's too close to the subject matter. Maybe he's too much of a fan. He couldn't be objective about it. I don't know, but I didn't like it. And I didn't, and through all these films, I didn't feel like I was really watching King Kong. The character, the monster in that first film, and the mystique around that creature, I didn't feel like I was really seeing it in any of these films. Kong of Skull Island, which is a much less ambitious film than the Peter Jackson film, or probably even the Laurentiis film. It's a less ambitious film. It's just trying to be a fun action movie, and it succeeds wonderfully. It perhaps is aiming a little lower, but it hits the target instead of aiming high and missing. But the main thing it accomplishes is it gets King Kong right. It gets the monster, the character of Kong, right. And I don't think any other film since the original got him right until the Skull Island movie. And that was the first time I felt like I was really seeing the real King Kong. Like, oh, there he is again. After 80 years or 80 something years, almost a century. There he is, finally. How hard was this really? I mean, how hard is it to get this right? It's a simple idea. He's a giant monster. He's got a certain kind of personality. He's a giant gorilla, prehistoric gorilla. He's not like a silverback, realistic gorilla. He's a monster. He's a creature. He's not like a normal gorilla expanded. He's a fantasy monster. And he's got a certain way of reacting to things, and there's a certain personality there that makes him King Kong. And none of the other films, I thought, got that right. But I thought Kong Skull Island. Say what you want to say about it. It's not, high art or high cinema, I know that. But at least it gave me another legitimate King Kong movie. I mean, so now there are 2 movies with the real King Kong in them. So we'll see about, as of this recording, Godzilla versus Kong, the new movie, has not yet come out. It's about to come out. I haven't seen it yet. Hasn't come out yet. But we'll see if how I feel about that. Do I get the same feeling I got with Kong of Skull Island? Do I feel like, yeah, that's Kong, that's the real Kong? Or am I going to be disappointed again like I was with some of the other Kong movies? I don't know. But I am going to watch it. I don't know if I'm going to see it on TV or go to a theater. I haven't been to a theater since late 2019, so 15 months or so, more than that maybe. That might be the movie that gets me back into a movie theater. I've been vaccinated. I've had both my vaccinations. So I might give it a shot. That might be the movie that pulls me back into a movie theater. We'll see. It would be nice to see it on a big screen. But big screen, little screen, I will see it. All right, so that's my big preamble. How many hours was that? It was already like a half hour, 20 minutes into this. We haven't looked at a single toy. That's why you need to subscribe to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. Let's put the subscription thing up. There you go. We'll get it over with now because I might forget it. If you want 20 minutes of babbling without looking at a single toy, you need to subscribe to this channel. Okay, so let's just look at this. Okay. I set this up like 10 seconds before I started recording. I just put this here. Okay, this is the iconic, classic Aurora King Kong model kit from the 1960s. Now I say that, it's the same sculpt. No, it's not quite focusing, right? I say that, but this is a reissue. I did not build a vintage King Kong model. This is a reissue that I built and painted. I did have, and in fact, I think I still have my childhood Kong somewhere in the house, in the basement. But this is actually Illuminator's, 1990s Illuminator's King Kong. And I see the focus is going in and out, in and out. Just hold steady there. This is a 1990s Illuminator's kit that I painted like a 60s kit. Illuminators were made in this weird colored translucent plastic. I don't know if you can, probably now you can't really see it. But it's I think this was in a red plastic. You can just barely see it, like on the edge there, because of the whole model. See it red? The whole model was like that. But I painted it as if it were a vintage kit, because I wasn't going to buy a real vintage kit and paint it. But I say that, and actually, in later years, I did buy vintage Aurora kits and build them and paint them. And one of these days, we'll show some of them. King Kong wasn't one of them, though, but I did build and paint some other Aurora monster vintage kits. Particularly the glow kits. I built and painted authentic vintage Aurora glow-in-the-dark model kits, and I was going to make a glow-in-the-dark Kong, but then I kind of lost interest in kit building, and the parts sat around unfinished for a couple of years, and then I finally traded my unfinished kits to a friend of mine. So this model is very important, very iconic, and it's kind of the model that launched 1,000 other King Kong toys, much like Aurora's Frankenstein kit and their Mummy, Wolfman, many of their other monster model kits those sculpts kept turning up all through the 60s and 70s, and other toys that ripped off the sculpts. And King Kong's no exception. A bunch of other stuff ripped off this sculpt or this look. The Aurora kits really set the standard for what these classic monsters were supposed to look like for the next 15 years. People really referenced the model kits more than the films. Instead of looking at movie stills or reference material from the movies, if you're going to do a product based on these characters, you get the model kit and look at that. And I remember there was a trading card from like a monster trading card set. They had I think it was a King Kong set that had one of the cards was a photo of this model kit instead of the real King Kong. A photo from the movie, they used a photo of this model kit. And there's an issue with this thing, this model kit, that the leaves on the trees are missing from reissues because something went wrong with the mold, and the tree leaves, for whatever reason, they're missing. So when this kit's been reissued over the years, it's been reissued without all the leaves on the trees. But this one does have the leaves because I wrote to the company, Monogram, who put this out, and said, I want some leaves. And they sent me leaves. So it's got all three, there are three of them? 1, 2, 3, 4. So all 4 trees that have leaves, the palm trees, they all have the same leaves. Instead of 4 different sets of leaves, it's all the same leaves. But at least they've all got leaves. So I wrote to Monogram and said, I want some leaves. And they sent me a bag of leaves. So there's King Kong, very influential and important model kit. Now, should I try to do this chronologically? No, because I got a Marx thing I think I should save for the end. Should I save it for the end or not? We'll do it now. I mean, this was going to be like a big finish, but we'll try to go in more of a chronological order. Let's just, because I spent 20 minutes babbling, let me reward you now with something you actually want to see. I said, this is not the place to discuss the movie, and then I discussed the movie for 20 minutes. I gave a very pedestrian discussion of the movies. Now, this is not a channel for film criticism, film studies, but I felt like I had to say something about the movies. I can't just say, hey, here's some gorilla toys. All right, so this is from 1962, the Marx Mighty Kong. Marx Mighty Kong from 1962. This is a battery-operated robot, basically, a battery-operated toy. And let's see this box art. So I've got other Marx robots. I've got the Frankenstein, I got the Yeti, I got the Spooky Tree with their boxes. Some have inserts, some don't. This one doesn't have its inserts, which is very annoying to me, but oh well. So here's this beautiful box. I love Marx box art. I just adore that box art. I mean, you don't see art like that anymore on anything. Well, I say anything. That's not quite true. Oddly enough, I think fireworks have art very similar to this. And that's one of the reasons I haven't done the last couple of years, but I do like to go to fireworks stands, even though I don't shoot off fireworks. I do like to go to fireworks stands and we'll just look at the artwork on that stuff, because so often the artwork it reminds me of this 60s Marx art, this box art. And someone smarter than me might shed some light on why. What is the link there? Could it, I don't know, could the same illustrators still be alive doing some of this? Or maybe the fireworks art, a lot of that might be very old art that's been in use for a long time. Or maybe there's sort of a tradition of art from wherever it's done. Hong Kong, I mean, all this stuff is from originally Hong Kong, the 60s Marx toys, I would think. Or are they Japan? I know there's a lot of robots are from Japan, but I don't know about the Marx. I'm going to see when I finish showing you the artwork on this box. Maybe there's just like a tradition of a certain part of the world, of a certain style of box art that just carries over through generations and it stays kind of similar. I don't know, but I do like this art a lot. And the only contemporary products where I see the same kind of art would be fireworks, packaging for fireworks. And I like these. I like this image of Kong and a child. See, he's not so bad. He's a nice Kong. He's a friendly Kong. There he is. He's being helpful, killing the Tyrannosaurus, because, you know, we don't want Tyrannosaurus dinosaurs roaming around. So he's doing us a favor, taking care of the T-Rexes. Now here, though, yeah, he's not being very helpful there. But I don't know. You know, could be that there might be some bad people in that car. He might be actually helping out by stopping that car. And this plane, well, you know, people are always trying to shoot at poor little Kong. And I wonder where somebody got those giant, chains and cuffs. I don't know. I mean, in the original movie, he's got giant chains around him. Where do you actually get chains that size? Let's see here. Anything I want to say? Oh, this is interesting. So I never noticed that. I thought it was just a generic building, but that's actually the Empire State Building. And it's falling over, so he's not climbing up the building. He's too big. He's half the size of the building, so he's not climbing up the building. He's causing havoc and everything's blowing up, and the Empire State Building is falling down. Make him walk, make him beat his chest and growl. One of the many Marx toys. Do you have all of them? No, I don't. I was looking to see if there was like a made in Hong Kong or made in Japan. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the Marx robots, I think they're made in Japan, not Hong Kong. I think they're made in Japan. I wanted to verify that, but I don't see it. Well, anyway, there might be something on the toy, but so much of the stuff we see here is made in Hong Kong, but I think Marx robots are made in Japan. Okay, so let's look at the actual toy. No, he's not in there. He's here because I don't want him damaging the inside of the box. So I keep them separate. Now, I have not laid eyes on this toy in, gosh, at the most recent I would have opened this bag and looked at it would have been 2012. And I'm not even sure I looked at it then. But that would have been the most recent that I've laid eyes on it. So here he is. He's got, you see, I'm protecting him with multiple layers of protection here. He's still there. Still in one piece. Let's see here. Now I don't have batteries in him. I'm not going to turn them on. Yeah, these things are so fragile. Here's Mighty Kong. Now this camera focus is shifting in and out tonight. I hope it doesn't do that all through the program. So there he is. Isn't he cute? He's a cute little King Kong. Here's his battery with his remote control. Now, unlike the Yeti, this doesn't have any lithography on it. There's no artwork on that. The Marx Yeti has a beautiful remote control. So he pounds his chest and he makes noise and he walks. And he's a very cute and very mighty Kong. Let's see if we can get an image of the two of these guys. Yeah, I've got 3 cameras for this one. And this camera could be a little higher. The angle could be a little higher because it's kind of cutting off the top there. But anyway, here they are. The Marx Mighty Kong, battery-operated Mighty Kong from 1962. And I wasn't going to show this because I was going to do a Marx episode eventually. And I thought, well, I'm kind of preempting that because there's only a handful of these different toys in this Monster Robot series. But I thought, I can't do a King Kong episode without showing this. So let's put him back in here. And he had multiple layers of bubble wrap on him before this. I didn't bring the bubble wrap because it would take forever to get him out of there. Okay. Well, let's see here. Before I cover it up, so this is missing its front cover, but here's the back cover. This is my childhood novelization of King Kong, the paperback novelization of King Kong. And it has this beautiful artwork, and the front cover looked the same. Just imagine this with the word King Kong on it, and that's what the front cover looked like. And that image just sums up King Kong. And I like the atmospheric quality of this artwork. I mean, while we're at it, why don't we look at this without knocking everything over. Here's the back of the famous horror movies book, but I flipped it around the plastic so we could see this. There's a beautiful image that I grew up with of King Kong. You got King Kong and Godzilla on that. Now the cover for this book is just so iconic. Any monster kid who grew up in the 70s had this book if they were lucky, or at least they saw it. They're aware of it, or maybe they had it in their school library. But it's a very famous, iconic book for monster kids. So there's some Kong artwork. I wanted to show those before I covered them up. So I'll put this over here for now. I'm not going to try to wrap that back up yet. And this I'll put over here. Hopefully Billy won't come and try to chew on it. Okay. Now, how we do on time? All right. So, what else can we say if we're trying to do this roughly chronologically? I guess, so we already saw these Renzi, AJ Renzi blow mold King Kong banks. We saw those in the blow mold episode and the AJ Renzi Monster Mobile episode. So here's the big AJ Renzi Kong. And this was made in different colors, pink and other weird colors. I only have the black one. And you'll remember in the blow mold episode, I talked about the big King Kong articulated bank. Or is it a bank? Yeah, I think it's a bank. But it's cast in, there's two versions. I think one is in black plastic, but another's in yellow plastic, and you can paint it. It was originally sold with paints, so it was paint kits to paint the plastic. Yeah, I don't have that. I'd like to. But I'm just noting that we have this blow molded Renzi Kong. There's another among collectors, very famous blow mold King Kong that I don't have. That's that one with the articulated shoulders. There we go. Let's see if I'm going to try to do this roughly chronologically. What would be the next thing I'd want to show you? We already looked at Azrak Hamway stuff. What's the other guy here? Okay. Oh, got some Godzilla stuff mixed in there. Well, let's look at the Azrak Hamway then. Now this, before we look at Azrak, I don't know what year this is. This is a Universal Studios. I think it's for the theme park. Yeah, I don't know. Is there a date on it? Well, let's show it. So this is a what is it? It's a candy container. I guess they had candy in it. It had some kind of candy in it. I think it was sold at the Universal theme park. But it's got a really nice King Kong head on top. Now, I'm guessing this is probably 90s. I'm not sure. But we're already getting out of order as far as chronology. What else do we have here? Here we go. This is good. Here is a Palmer King Kong. Palmer, whatever you, I don't know how you pronounce it. Palmer. Man, the focus is all messed up on this camera. So that's a Palmer King Kong, Palmer, Palmer. And it's just a solid plastic figurine. It's part of a set of monsters. I just happen to have, this is a Ray Harryhausen style Cyclops, part of the same set. I mean, you're not going to see much detail because it's yellow. I think you get the idea. And they made a smaller size of these that it's a little smaller. It's flat instead of being three-dimensional. It's flat. Now, so they also made, believe it or not, a little Fay Ray to fit inside his hand. She would snap into his hand. And though I don't have it anymore, I used to have one of these Palmer Kongs with the Fay Ray attached by a sprue. And the Kong was also attached to a Gorgo, so they made a Gorgo in this set. And the two figures were attached by sprues, And I think Fay Wray, I don't know what side she was on. I think Gorga was on this side and Fay Wray was stuck in between. So I do have a photo of that. I'll show that photo now. I sold this a few years ago. I mean, I hated to let go, but occasionally I need some cash, and that's what happens. I sell some stuff. So I sold this, and I got a pretty good price. I don't know what they're going for now, but I did get a pretty decent amount of money for it. So it's a very rare item. Not the Kong. I mean, you don't find Kongs every day, but I mean, they're not that common. But comparatively speaking, the Kong is fairly common compared to the Fay Wray, which is almost impossible to find. And just the little Fay Wray, she's just a little piece of plastic. There's not much to her. She's like, that big. She can sell for hundreds of dollars just by herself. So that's a very expensive little tiny morsel of plastic. Because how would you even know you had that? I mean, if you're going through a toy box looking at old stuff and that was in there, you wouldn't even know what it was. So that's why, I don't know how many are out there, but there probably weren't that many in the first place, and most people wouldn't recognize it if they had it. They wouldn't know what they had, and they wouldn't know how to list it, how to sell it. So it's hard to get a Fay Wray. But the one I had was cool, still attached to the Kong. It's a shame I sold that, but can't keep everything. Let's see here. We're going way out of chronology. This is an X1x Inflatable Kong. So this is a full Kong figure with the arms and legs and everything, but he's an inflatable. Oh, there we go. And X1x, this poster is not a movie poster. This is an X1x poster. And X1x is a company that, I guess it was about a decade ago, they put out a lot of monster merchandise. King Kong, Godzilla, Hammer, Curse of the Werewolf, Frankenstein, several other different monster characters. And their philosophy was, if they owned an original movie poster, like if they owned a real example of this poster, a vintage example, they had the right to make products based on that poster. So if they owned a vintage King Kong poster, they could then not only make copies of that poster, they could make toys and other merchandise based on the poster, which legally is completely wrong, and they didn't get away with it for very long, but a year or two they got away with it before they were finally, whatever happened, I don't know, but they abruptly stopped selling that stuff. But they were in major stores, these items. Other companies were getting licenses for these characters through X1x. They were offering, like, if you want to license a Universal monster, but you can't or don't want to do it through Universal, come to us. And at that time, I think Universal was the one licensing King Kong. There's been rights issues with who has the rights to King Kong. I don't know how the rights to King Kong got screwed up, but it did. But usually it's Universal that, in the modern era, licenses King Kong. Usually. Okay, so we've already thrown chronology to the wind. But now let's get back on some kind of a timeline. So, we've seen the Azrak Hamway stuff before, and now we're going to see it again. But if you want to look at my episodes for my first season, I have two episodes about Azrak Hamway International Monster Toys, and all this Kong stuff is in that. But hey, we're going to see it again. Here is an Azrak Hamway King Kong Sparking Walker. So this little guy, you wind him up, he walks, and sparks come out of his mouth. And because of the bubble, it's hard to see him. There we go. I think you can see him. And beautiful artwork. Azrac Hamway always has amazing artwork. It's usually ripped off of something else, but I don't care. It's beautiful. Official King Kong. Now, I think this is from 1974. My asthma is kicking up, so I'll be coughing a lot. 73? That's the RKO. So this is licensed through RKO. And in the 70s, RKO, the Kong stuff in the 70s, before Dino De Laurentiis, was all RKO licensed. And then I don't know exactly, I guess we'll find out about the Dino De Laurentiis stuff. And then I think it was in the 80s, Universal somehow got control of the King Kong license. I'm not sure what the arrangement was. So I thought this was 74. Yeah, I'm going to say that's 74, 1974, because all the monster stuff started in 74. All the Azrac Can't Wait monsters, classic monster stuff. Now, here is the Azrac Can't Wait King Kong Bendums. Azrac Hamway International King Kong Bendums. I used to have several carded Bendums. Now I only have this King Kong and a Frankenstein. I used to have multiple King Kongs and a Dracula and a Wolfman in addition to the Frankenstein on cards. But I could never get a mummy or a creature. And finally I just kind of got sick of it and said, well, if I can't have a complete set, heck with it. And I started selling them. But I kept the Frank and I kept one of the Kongs, this one. Now you see that he's got little Fay Ray, little Andero in his hand. I like it when Kong has Andero in his hand in a toy. The Marx Monte Kong does not have that. Official world famous Super Monsters Bendums King Kong. It's got a Kresge sticker, but it's printed on. So a lot of the Kresge merchandise was made especially for Kresge. Not that that was the only store that sold it necessarily, but Azrac Hamway would, and other companies would make packaging with the Kresge logo or price sticker printed on the package because it was made exclusively for Kresge. And of course, if you don't know what these are rubber or soft PVC figures with wires in them, and that enables them to bend and hold their pose. That's why they're called the Bendums. And these were the counterparts to the Mego style 8-inch Super Monsters. So the 3 3/4 inch format hadn't taken off yet, but this was sort of the equivalent. You had the Mego style Azrac Hamway figures, and even though it's King Kong, of course I have my creature. This is the Mego style, and then you had, instead of 3 3/4 inch, which wasn't a thing yet, but you have the Bendums, which are kind of like the small counterpart to the larger figure. And they made rubber jigglers. Rubber jigglers. Let's see. This one's always a pain to to display. This is a carded King Kong jiggler. And come on out of there now. Because he's okay, let's get him on there. Let's keep this. Okay, so here's the card for the Jiggler. You see he's tied to the card instead of like a bubble. He's tied. More fantastic artwork. There's Anne in his hand with planes and lightning, buildings. Of course, you gotta have buildings. And here's the Jiggler, what it would look like on the card, tied to it. And here's this Jiggler. Now we're going to see another one in a second. This is the Anthrax King Kong Jiggler, and there's Anne. A little bit of a resemblance there, wouldn't you say? I mean, the whole thing, there's a resemblance there. Strong resemblance. Not a coincidence. And here is another Anthrax King Jiggler. This is the one that was sold loose, though this was not sold on a card. This was sold with a hang tag. The little Kong on the hang tag. A little victorious Kong with his arms up. So that was sold in a box with, just a bunch of Jigglers in the box. There's subtle differences. They're essentially the same toy, but one was sold with a tag, and people say that the carded one had a tag. I don't think it did. I don't know. Maybe there's some examples of a carded one with tags. I don't know. I don't think this one ever had it. You can tell. First, it's a very nice shape. It's not used. And there's no place, there's no residue or anything where a tag ever was. I don't think this ever had a tag. I don't think the carded ones had tags, just like the other A-high Jiggler monsters, the Frankenstein, Wolfman, Creature, Mummy. The carded ones did not have tags. The ones that were sold loose with tags had tags. Okay, so let's put away these. Oh, and there's a water pistol that looks like the Aurora Kong head, but it squirts water out of its mouth. I don't have that. I've never had that. Never had the water pistol. Probably never will. But it was sold loose and carded, the water pistol. And you can go on eBay and see what they go for on cards. There's 2 of them on eBay that have been there a long time. And they're not cheap. I'd love to own one, but yeah, I can't justify it, spending that much. Now the water pistol for Frankenstein and Creature are a lot more expensive. I mean, you're going to spend thousands of dollars for a Creature, even loose. I mean, if a carded A-high Creature water pistol ever turned up, a carded one, that'd probably be like a $10,000 toy. Even the loose one would be thousands of dollars. Come on out here. Come on. It's fighting me. Okay, got some feisty items that don't want to come out. Well, that's Kong for you. He's difficult. You can't expect cooperation out of Kong. Okay, so here is the Ben Cooper King Kong costume. So that is, and it looks like a gorilla. That's King Kong. The box. Well, here, let's look at this. There you go. That's proof. King Kong. Yeah, I'm not going to take him out. There's the King Kong box. Ben Cooper King Kong costume. Okay, now here is Now we're getting into the Dino De Laurentiis era. Is there something I should show you before we... Well, yeah, there is something. No, we're okay. Yeah, I guess we'll go into Dino De Laurentiis next. This is from the Dino De Laurentiis era. This is another Ben Cooper King Kong costume. Only the mask has that 76 Kong look. Instantly recognizable. I mean, if you know what to look for. This is wrapped up so tight. I don't wanna mess with that. I mean, it's sealed for all time. So it's a very crisp, nice box, as opposed to the other one, which is kind of a mess. But this was very nice. But you can tell it's got the Laurentiis 76 Kong font. Does it have World Trade Center? No, it's got the Empire State Building, actually, but it's copyrighted by Dino De Laurentiis. 70, I assume it's 76, but let me just make sure. Yeah, 76. Dino De Laurentiis Corporation. So you can see it's got vaguely Dino De Laurentiis artwork. Not exactly, but yeah, sort of. You can tell it's from that era, that mid-70s era. Okay, so now if we're getting into the Laurentiis era. So these are the Coca-Cola glasses for the 76 Dino De Laurentiis King Kong. These are my childhood glasses, and I have more of these. These aren't the only ones I've got. I have some doubles and triples on these. And now, I want to... Before I mislead anyone, I want to make sure of something here. Let's see. Yeah, I want to say, and this is something I should have checked beforehand. I want to say these are from Pizza Hut. Or were they... I could be wrong. I can't remember if it was Pizza Hut or Burger Chef. Well, it wasn't McDonald's or anything like that. So I will check on that, and I will flash on the screen whether it was Pizza Hut or someplace else. And you're seeing it now. But anyway, these are my childhood glasses. These are fast food premiums. And whether it was Pizza Hut or wherever it was, they used to have these glasses at different fast food places. It was a big deal, and every week they'd come out with a new one. Not just King Kong, I mean cartoons and all kinds of stuff. I've got a bunch of Pizza Hut cartoon glasses, and I know those are from Pizza Hut. I've got tons of those, but they're all from my childhood. They're not stuff I bought as an adult, and these I did not buy as an adult. These are from my childhood, and I don't remember what the offer was. I mean, you would go and you'd buy a glass of soda, and you'd keep the glass. Well, let's just... I'm sorry I did not... I should have researched more about these. At least be able to tell you what restaurant they're from. But anyway, here's that iconic King Kong artwork from the 1976 Dino De Laurentiis remake of King Kong. And there's all kinds of stories about this art and how this was created, and you can go online and there's some very interesting information about this series of paintings and where these came from and how they came to be. But all of the promotional art for the 76 remake has, well, all but one image has the same face. So you see how they both have the same face. It doesn't matter what pose or situation he's in, he's got the same face. Same face on every image. But I think there was one painting where he had a different face, where he's, I think, climbing. It's like looking down on him as he's climbing up the World Trade Center. And he's looking up. And that's the only one that has a different face, I think. But let's look at these one at a time. So I've lost my third camera. So now I'm down to my usual 2 cameras. So you won't get that nice shot unless, if you see it again, that means I took it from a few minutes ago and stuck it there. So, boy, it's taking forever to focus this thing. So here he is at the wall of Skull Island, tearing it apart. And I remember looking at these glasses and looking at the poster, and my brother and I had the movie poster. I think my brother had it on his door of his bedroom. We don't have it now. It's, torn to shreds over the years. But look at the scale. I mean, it looks like, almost like he's coming up out of the earth or something. He's so big, he's too big for the image. He's so big, you can't even make him correctly to scale. You see the little people down there. So King Kong is so big, he's too big for the canvas. He's too big to be contained by the image. And here is this dragon-like serpent that he's fighting. And he does fight a snake in the movie, but it doesn't look like that. That's one of the most disappointing things about the film. Focus. Hello, focus. Was focusing on me, that's the problem. There we go. That's one of the most disappointing things about the movie. There are no dinosaurs in it. I'm trying to get rid of that glare, that reflection on it. There are no dinosaurs in the movie. Just a giant snake. I don't know if that was purely a budget issue or a stylistic one. They didn't think dinosaurs were believable, or I don't know. Could have used some dinosaurs. But I mean, the way the movie was made, the style of the thing, how would you really have incorporated dinosaurs? It's pre-CGI. Stop motion wouldn't fit with the Rick Baker, costume. So they have to be like Toho style man in suit, or maybe a puppet or something. I bet that I bet they thought about that, maybe did some tests, and thought, this isn't going to work. It's just not compatible. It doesn't go together. And here we have the iconic poster image where he's standing atop the World Trade Center with 1 foot on each tower. I always thought his feet looked like he had 1 monkey type foot and 1 human foot. Like had 1 foot was like Bigfoot and the other foot was like a monkey or a gorilla. And then, okay, here's the big mystery that all King Kong fans want to know. What in the heck is in his hand? What is that stupid thing? What is it? It's nothing. It's just a bunch of mecha nonsense. It's just, I don't know what that is. It's not a, people say it's supposed to be one of the jet planes. That's not a jet plane. It's like Skylab or something blowing up in there. This was the era when Skylab was falling. Well, I don't know. I guess that was a little later, but I guess it was shortly after the famous Skylab mutiny. A couple years after that, I was reading an article about the Skylab mutiny that wasn't really a mutiny. And you got all these helicopters, and I never knew I never knew as a kid how much of this painting, I mean, obviously on this glass, it's, you know, it's all a painting, but on the poster, I never knew how much of it was a painting and how much was a photograph, because the buildings and all the towers and all the buildings in the background and the planes, they looked so realistic. They looked almost like a photograph with King Kong painted on top of it. So I'm not sure. I do believe that these paintings were done very quickly, so it's hard to believe that the painter would have painted all those little buildings. It looks very photographic, but I don't know. I know there's, like I said, there's information out there about these paintings, because there's kind of a mystique about this series of promotional paintings for this film. Because I think if there's really a fandom for the 76 Kong, I think it's really based more on the promotion and the merchandise than the film itself. Because there was a lot of promotional material. It was a heavily promoted film. There's a lot of merchandise, a lot of stuff. And these images became very iconic. This is Kong destroying a subway. And of course, they use these paintings because they can't really use photos from the movie because they're not very impressive, the actual images from the movie. People would say, oh, it's a guy in an ape suit on miniature sets. We thought there was going to be something more than that, because they wanted you to think that it was a giant 40-foot tall robot. Because they built a robot, a full-scale King Kong robot, and it looked terrible. It didn't move. It wasn't like Stan Winston, 1990s era dinosaurs. It was very robotic, as you would expect a gigantic robot gorilla to be. But they wanted to promote the myth that the whole movie was this robot walking around. And of course, if they had published photos, stills, actual images from the movie, that would that would have revealed the truth very quickly. So they wanted people to get in and see the movie before they realized, oh, it's a guy in a suit. But these images and the posters and the glasses, the T-shirts, everything, they promised a big adventure. They promised something that was not technologically feasible at the time. There was no way you were going to go to a movie and see this image in the movie. That just wasn't going to happen. They didn't have it's blurry again. Come on, focus. Hello, there you go. Yeah, I think it's focused. Well, so in 1976, you were just not going to see that. That image would not be on a movie screen. I mean, it couldn't until the 90s and CGI. There was just no way to do it. To make that kind of realistic looking action in these kinds of settings, that did not look like a man in a suit on miniature sets or stop motion animation. It took a revolution in effects technology and a completely paradigm shifting change in how effects were handled. There was no way practical effects were ever going to achieve that with the kind of realism that these images suggest. So that's why they used paintings instead of photos to try to sell you on the idea of what you were going to see, even though that what they were selling wasn't really in the movie. There's a lot of stuff from the 76 Kong. I think this Ben Cooper rubber Kong mask, I think this is 76 era. Does it have a date on it? This is made in Japan. That's interesting. Not Hong Kong. No, there's no date. So, but I can just tell by the look of it. This, that looks like 76 era King Kong. That looks like Dino De Laurentiis era. You can just tell the black skin, the red lips, and the kind of a triangular mouth. Okay, and here we go. Perfect example. Let's see what the date on this is. 77. So it's copyright 1977 by RKO General. And not Dino De Laurentiis, like those glasses. So this is a King Kong bank. Beautiful bank. I mean, they don't go for a lot on eBay, but they're beautiful, beautiful banks. And this is my childhood bank. So I want to show you something here. Look at that. See that? That tells you that this bank belongs to me. This is not your bank. This is my bank. So get your hands off it. My bank with my money in it. It's my King Kong bank. So here's, you can tell right away, it's 76 era. I mean, this is 77. This item is 77, 76 era design in the black. It's not brown or gray, it's black, jet black, with the triangular mouth and that kind of alarmed look on his face. That he doesn't really look fierce. He always looks kind of like how am I going to handle this? Instead of the RKO Kong, always looks angry and ready to rumble. It's blurry again. I think it's focusing on me instead of the item. I love how he's holding a house or a piece of a house. So he's sitting on a house. He's sitting on it. I don't know exactly what's going on there. He's sitting on the house and he's got a piece of it in his hand. And he's got a train car in the other hand. And he's got those squatchy feet instead of gorilla feet. He's got more human feet. And the whole thing has a kind of squatchy look, doesn't it? I mean, it looks like a giant Bigfoot, really. He's got the long human type legs and the human type feet and the domed head. And it's like a giant Bigfoot instead of a gorilla. So that was, focus. That was my childhood. This is my childhood King Kong bank. Where's the hole? There we go. There's the hole. So yes, I put money in there. There's no money in it now. Much like every other aspect of my life, there's no money in it now. Okay, what else can we show you? What kind of time we got here? We're not doing too bad given the amount of material we're covering. Well, let's see, what is this? This is the candy thing. Well, yeah, we gotta look at these. Okay. Here is my childhood stuffed King Kong. I told you about him before. This is a beloved toy. So this is my childhood plush King Kong. And he was made by Mego, actually. It's a Mego stuffed King Kong. And this is the actual one from my childhood. And he's got some wear and tear. He's got some battle damage there. But he's still here. And I used to make him beat his chest, but he's kind of stiff now. I don't want to mess him up. He's earned a good retirement. There he is. And he had all my toys had a voice, and he had an interesting voice. Let's see if I can still do it. It was... That's how he talked. Trying to blow air like between my cheeks and my teeth. Like, that was his voice. He never went or anything like that. He went. That's the only sound he made. All my toys had their own personality and their own voice. And that was his voice. He's still here. And now, I believe these were licensed through RKO, but you can tell, well, I was going to say you can tell it's 76 Kong style, but it's brown, not black. But it does have that kind of alarmed, open-mouthed Kong face that you associate with the 76 Kongs. Now, this next one is one of the reasons I wanted the extra camera, and now it's because these are all digital. The other one has a tape, and the tape's run out. Okay, this is not my childhood one. This is one I bought as an adult. This is the larger size of the Mego King Kong. So this is not one I had as a kid. This is one I collected. So I have another one of these in collector condition, but I couldn't find it. I don't know where it is. This is my childhood one, but I have one I bought as an adult somewhere. I don't know if it's got the tag or not. This one doesn't. I thought maybe the small one did. I'm not sure, but I couldn't find it. I've got a box of stuffed toys somewhere. It's got a bunch of different kinds of stuffed toys. So here's the big one. I don't know if they made a giant version. Like a 5-foot tall one, maybe. So I like, for instance, you've seen the stuffed Bigfoots on the show. They made different sizes, including a 5 or 6 foot tall version of that. And a lot of stuffed toys did that back then. They had like if you were a rich family, rich parent that wanted to buy your rich kid a really rich birthday or Christmas present, you might buy them a stuffed toy that was 5 or 6 feet tall. And I don't know if they had, I'm sure they had FAO Schwartz back then, but you would find them at some place like that or big box toy stores, which they had back then. Like Toy Chest was a big box toy store in the St. Louis area that had giant stuffed toys. But I don't know if there was a giant version of the Kong. I think the one I'm holding here, I think this is the largest size. I don't think there was a bigger one. But I could be wrong. I'm not an expert on that. But I think this is the biggest size. So here he is, big old Kong. And I wish I had one with a tag, because it's a really nice looking tag. And it sure looks like a Laurentiis style Kong, but it's brown. And I do believe these are licensed through RKO. He's so big, he's almost like a real animal. Yeah. Look at you. That's you. See? Let's see if there's anything to be gleaned looking at the tag. I don't have a lot of light. Now, as I recall, well, I don't want to. Let me see what the tag says. I don't know if I can even see this. There's not enough light. Yeah, it's kind of talking about the materials inside of it. I was hoping to get some copyright information. Made in Taiwan. That's interesting. Oh, RK, that's what I wanted. It's licensed by RKO. Licensed through RKO, not Dino De Laurentiis. Now, I used to have the King Kong Against the World playset. Mint box, complete, giant box. Kind of like this big box. We only had the 76 Kong type of artwork on it. And so it was a plastic Kong that was semi-posable and a World Trade Center tower, and you'd set them on top. And then it had these plastic planes that would shoot missiles at them, and you're supposed to knock them off. It was a beautiful toy. I sold it. Otherwise, I'd be showing it to you. But you really couldn't see much of it anyway, because it's in a box. It's all pieces, and I wouldn't have. I could show you the box. I wouldn't have taken it out of the box and tried to assemble it or anything like that. But still, it's a cool toy. Too bad I don't have it anymore. Like so many things, it just priced itself out of my collection. It's a shame. Can you fit back in here? Let's see. Let me get him out of the way. Yeah, it'll go back in there. Now, how about you? Weren't you in a... Were you in this bag? This little bag? Okay. Okay, in there now. All right, so now what? Okay, well, we'll talk about this. This is Topstone. Topstone Industries King Kong costume. And this is licensed through RKO. Made in Korea. You know what? It is not. Hold on a second. No, it is. This is interesting, though. I'm looking at the copyright information. King Kong, trademark RKO General, Incorporated, 1933, poster dash 1933, all rights reserved, trademark, and copyright 1984, Universal City Studios, Inc., all rights reserved, licensed by Merchandising Corporation of America, made in Korea, Topstone Industries, Danbury, Connecticut. So this is from 1984. I thought this was a 76 era item. I just assumed it's 84. And that must have been like King Kong Lives, I guess. So anyway, the costume doesn't look like it. It's just a gorilla costume. The thing that's cool is the box. It's this beautiful, wonderful vintage style box with this amazing poster art from the original King Kong. I mean, that is... the reason to buy it is for the box. So this is the second one of these I've had, and I actually used the first one. I used the costume, and the gloves were crumbling on that one, and they're crumbling on this one. I have opened it and looked inside. And something about the hands, I don't know why. The rest of it is fine. The mask is fine. The feet, everything else is fine. The chest. But something about the gloves, there must be a different kind of rubber. Now two of these, they've had, the gloves have been deteriorating. And it's the same with this one. Something about the rubber they used on the gloves doesn't last. But the rest of it survived. And I don't think I took the whole thing out, just the gloves, because I knew to look for that to see what was going on with the gloves. And sure enough, there was a problem with the gloves. And I have the original shipping box from Topstone over there. I'm not going to show it to you, but it's over there. But it's a brown shipping box from Topstone that this came in. And I love Topstone. I mean, if there's anything that I would say I'm an expert on in the toy collecting, it would be Topstone. If you're going to say, like, who's Who's the world's foremost Azrak Henway expert? It's not me. Who's the world's foremost Aurora monsters expert? It's not me. Who's the world's foremost, I don't know, you name it, any other kind of monster item? It's not me. Who's the world's foremost Topstone expert? Me. Not this guy or this person or that person. Raymond Castile. That I'm not shy about. I am the world's foremost expert on Topstone. Okay. Let's see. What else should I... Oh, let's show you this. I want to say this is probably 76 era. I'm not sure. Made in Hong Kong. But I don't really know. These are Jigglers. It's a box of Jigglers. Because I don't have my other camera. This would have been perfect for that, but we'll do this. So this is a box of Jigglers. Great Kong. You can see that artwork. Let me. This is detached. So Great Kong. Look at that. That is a scary, creepy Kong. I'd hate to have that running loose in the city. Well, here in the other art, Great Kong. See, he looks a little more manageable there. I mean, he's angry, he's powerful, but he doesn't look deranged. He looks like King Kong. This looks like the devil's King Kong. I mean, that is one crazy King Kong. That's a scary, crazy King Kong. You don't want that running loose in the city. So, are they all the same? Let's see. Here's one of them. Here's what one of them looks like. And he does kind of look deranged, doesn't he? He has a kind of crazy look. He's got a plane in his hand. Now, Ben Cooper made a similar one, but this is not it. But I do have a Ben Cooper one that says Ben Cooper on it. That's a very similar style of this. And I have a 12-inch tall rubber Kong that's very similar to that, but I didn't know what box that was in. It's getting to the point. You see how much stuff I've got. I had to start editing things if it was too difficult to get to it and wasn't sure where it was. Had to let it go. But I've got a similar rubber Kong, very similar to these, but like at least twice as big. You know, like so big. So I just want to see if I can create the look of a full box of these. Let's see here. I just feel like there's some value in seeing what this looks like all together. Having a nice little money shot of all the Kongs. I think I'm shy of a couple of them here. So this is what it would look like. If you could see that. That's what a full box would look like. Or nearly full, it's not quite full. If you were to see that in a store, it might look something like that. destroying it. There we go. All the little Kongs. Whoop, one's falling. Now, if I saw this box as a kid, I think I would have been very enthusiastic about it at a store. I think I would have had to have bought one of these Kongs. The box is going to fall apart if I don't do something, so I think I'll put the Kongs back in here. These old Jiggler counter display boxes, they're always a mess. Always falling apart. There's we'll see a Ben Cooper Godzilla when I do the Godzilla thing. I still have another whole video to do, Godzilla. Yikes. So, there's a Ben Cooper Godzilla counter display box for the rubber jigglers on eBay now. And it's only $2,000. It looks great. But can't touch it for that kind of money. But it sure looks nice. It's got, you know, it's full of Godzillas, little rubber Godzillas. But I can't touch that kind of price. How did I have this? Was it like that? No. Let's put it like that. There we go. That's how I had it. All right. Put you there. Put you here. All right. I think we're getting near the end, aren't we? Hope so. Well. Oh, okay. Let's I should have taken this out before. Let's look at this. Now, I will try to get the Godzilla episode done as soon as I can, but it might take a while. I got a lot going on with my car. It does look like it's probably going to be totaled. I had a collision with my car last week. And if it gets totaled, oh boy, that's a whole headache. So I got to deal with that. And my young niece is coming over. So I'll have her, and there won't be any time for recording anything. Okay, so here's an Imperial Toys vinyl King Kong. Well, it's vinyl or PVC. I don't know, it's plastic. And it's on a card. And this is 86. Most of the stuff is 86. I want to say 86. Made in China. 1993. That's later than I thought. Okay, so here's Imperial Toys King Kong. Now, they made a lot of stuff like this in the 80s, around 1986. They had Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy, Universal Monsters, and they had a Godzilla, which we will see. So I thought this, but I think it's just that it was sold on this card in 83 or 93. I think they had the toy earlier than that. So he's got some cool artwork there. And you know, it seems like as soon as that Laurentiis film faded away, the idea of him on the World Trade Center just poof, just disappeared. You never see art. Obviously, after 9/11, you're not going to, but even before 9/11, you never saw King Kong on the World Trade Center after the wave of '76 merchandise ended. And for one thing, it's probably because, you know, it would be you'd face, you know, copyright issues that would identify it as merchandising for that particular film. I was trying to see how they licensed this. There's no studio copyright, not Universal, not RKO, nothing. Well, look at this artwork here. I just noticed this. So you're looking at the top of this building, looking down, and that. No, it's not. Well, it's very interesting. So these are the letters King Kong. King Kong, king of all? King of all what? Apes? Okay. King Kong, king of all apes. And I thought this was like a building. These are the words, letters, and it kept repeating, but then it turns into a building. There's a street down here with cars. So it's like the letters form a building that, and you're standing on top of the building or hovering over the building looking down, and King Kong's over the top. There's a good angle on him. There is no good angle with this plastic. What's it say? Features posable arms. Well, that's good. So I guess his legs are not posable? I can't tell. Well, so here, this is a cool toy. Put him back in here. And so there's a comparable Godzilla, which I know was made earlier than '93. I'm pretty sure this King Kong was earlier than that, but just not this carded variant. Let's see. What can I do? Such a big mess. Let's look at this next. Okay. And no, I don't have any Peter. I'm not going to bring this up to the present day. I don't have Peter Jackson King Kong merchandise, and I don't have Skull Island merchandise. Well, I saw a Facebook friend had a beautiful Skull Island Kong figure, like this big, you know, huge deluxe version. I think it's a recent one. I think it's, I don't know how old it is, but it's not that old. It's a Kong Skull Island action figure, and it's not, I think he had to special order. I don't think it was ever sold on a store shelf, because it's a few $100. I think it's $250. It's really big. It's very detailed. Looks great. A bit more than I want to spend on a modern toy, though. But it's, you know, it's not a plaything. It's a very deluxe, you know, high-end kind of toy. And there were a lot of Peter Jackson Kong toys and Skull Island toys, and NECA's made some 1933 Kong toys. X+ made some 33 Kong toys. In the 80s, there's a Sakuda. Sakuda? I think Sakuda. There's a vinyl model kit, which is basically a toy. of King Kong for their Jumbo series vinyl model kits. I've always wanted that Sakuda Jumbo series of monster models. They look goofy, but I like them. There's a Frankenstein and a Wolfman and a creature and a Metaluna mutant, 1979 Alien, King Kong. There's a Terror Dog from Ghostbusters. I'm forgetting one, I'm sure. Probably forgetting one. There's a Mummy. Well, anyway, that's a nice set of 80s vinyl model kits / toys. Kind of like the Billikens, but a little more crude, and I think a little bigger too. I think they're a little bigger than Billikens. So this, everyone calls this the big Remco King Kong, but it's not made by Remco. Oh, no, why am I saying Remco? Imperial. Nobody calls this the Remco. Nobody calls it Remco. But people call this the big Imperial Kong. So they consider it the big counterpart to the one we just saw, the little King Kong. But as far as I can tell, this isn't actually made by Imperial. And you can always tell this one from his green toenails. That's a unique trait. He doesn't have green fingernails, does he? Yeah, he does. They're harder to see, but I can see in this light. Yeah, now I see them. They're green fingernails, green toenails. There they are. Got a nice angry face. He's very articulated too. I think he's got, 5 points of articulation. He's very, very heavy. He's a heavy, solid toy. Big and heavy, very substantial. And I don't know who made him. There is a company, but I should have looked it up, that made a bootleg Godzilla, or a few different bootleg Godzilla toys in the 80s. And they probably made this too, but I don't know. I do remember this being sold in stores. I don't know if it ever had a tag, but I do remember Toys R Us. I'm pretty sure I saw this at Toys R Us, maybe KB Toys. So it's an 80s unlicensed King Kong. Probably nothing to do with Imperial, but it's generally called the large Imperial Kong, just because it seems like the large counterpart to that one we just saw on the card. But I don't think it really has anything to do with Imperial. I don't think they made it. But it's the kind of thing they would make. And also, a more obvious correlation, Imperial made a Godzilla this big, which he's down here, but we're not going to see him today. We'll see him in the next episode. Imperial made a big Godzilla, and this is like the Kong for that Godzilla. But I don't think Imperial made. I think that whoever made this, and I a couple of days ago I could have told you the company that I think made it, but I forgot. I think that they intended it to be played with that big Godzilla, but I don't think Imperial made it. Imperial made the Godzilla, and this company, if it's the one I'm thinking of, also made some bootleg Godzillas. And this is, meant to be played with one of their Godzillas or the Imperial Godzilla. But, it's informally considered the big Imperial King Kong. But it's probably not really made by Imperial. He's a grumpy thing, isn't he? All right, so we're getting close to the end. Hello. So I was saying I don't know how soon I can do the Godzilla one, with everything that's going on. But I won't take too long because I want it out online while the new movie is out. I don't want to be a Johnny-come-lately a month later. I think that's as good as that's going to get. How come I have 2 bags? What's the other bag? Why do I have bubble wrap on this thing in the first place? That is kind of, I don't know. Why do I have bubble wrap on it? And what was that other bag? Was it the... I don't know. Alright, get back in there. Is there any Kong stuff I'm forgetting? I don't think so. I think this is the last item. Destroying the box on the way out here. Okay. There's McFarlane, Todd McFarlane. McFarlane Toys, Movie Maniacs, King Kong. Big old plastic King Kong. He's got chains. He's got a little Fay Ray. I always like it when there's a little Fay Ray there. He's got a stand that says King Kong on it. So he's all chained up, ready to escape and go rampaging through New York City. And here's a nice atmospheric photo of the toy, I think. Yeah, it's the actual picture of the toy. The eighth wonder of the world. And remember we saw the Jaws from this, the Jaws Orca diorama from this collection. This is the same kind of thing. There's the back, emphasizing Edward Scissorhands. A bunch of other stuff. Is there a date on this? I'll never find a date on there. Yeah, I don't know. Really wasn't the date so much I was looking for, it was the copyright. I wanted to see if this was licensed through Universal or what. I don't see anything. I think this was made during a time when Kong was thought to be in the public domain. And apparently Kong has a weird rights situation. I mean, it is kind of in the public domain, I guess. Universal would say otherwise, probably. Well, I'm not going to try to put that on right now. I can already see that's going to be an ordeal. Let's put you over here. So how in the world King Kong ended up in the public domain, I don't know. But there is some kind of an issue with who owns the rights to King Kong. It's disputed. But I think Universal has come out on top, just probably because no one really wants to challenge them. I don't know what the situation with Legendary Films and their Kong movies. If they're licensing Kong, like they're licensing Godzilla from Toho, I don't know. So this is a Chap May King Kong, and it's essentially the same toy as the McFarlane Kong, only it's painted differently. And the paint makes all the difference because the McFarlane Kong doesn't really look like the RKO King Kong. This looks just like the RKO King Kong. I mean, that is a beautiful 33 style King Kong. So obviously the McFarlane one is sculpted to be the 33 Kong, but for whatever reason, the way it's painted, it just doesn't have the look. This one does. It really brings out that 33 personality. And the only thing how and why does it do that? I think it's the eyes. He's got those kind of innocent, searching eyes, those big eyes. Whereas the McFarlane one has beady little eyes that aren't really characteristic of King Kong. King Kong has big eyes. It's out of focus, yeah. King Kong has big eyes. Focus, come on. So this one has an action feature. Beats his chest, sort of. I don't know if the McFarlane has anything like that. I don't think it does. I don't think it has any action features. This one does. And where it's slightly resculpted, but it's not I don't think the head is resculpted. I think the wrists and the waist, yeah, the waist is resculpted, because the McFarlane one has chains and there's I don't know what you call it, but he's got chains and things around him, and they're sculpted on, and this one doesn't have that. So it's not the same sculpt. It's been retooled slightly, but you can see where there would have been a chain across there. But I don't think this head is resculpted. I think that's the same as McFarlane. But it's painted differently, and I think it's the eyes. The eyes make it look like a proper 33 King Kong. If this camera would focus, that would be nice. Yeah, it's out of focus again. Well, anyway, it's the same toy basically, but slightly retooled, and with the action feature added to make him beat his chest. And this is Chap May, and this is, at least I hope it's Chap May. I think it's Chap May. Is it Chap May? Maybe I'm wrong. Nope, I'm right. Chap May. There it is. Chap May. Made in China. I'm right. For a change, I'm right. So it's Chap May King Kong and McFarlane King Kong. The same toy, basically. But this one, which is essentially like a bootleg of the McFarlane, this one actually looks like King Kong. And it's just really, it's the paint, and particularly the eyes, that the eyes really make the difference. This one has King Kong's eyes, and this one, the McFarlane one, does not. King Kong has soulful, pleading, searching, wounded eyes. He doesn't have these more beast-like, beady little eyes like the McFarlane does. Well, okay. I think, boy, I hope I'm not forgetting something. I think that's it. I think that's the last Kong item I have to show you. Just one last check. Is there anything else? We went over all this. What's back here? Went over all that. And I think we got it. I think we covered pretty much everything I would have liked to have covered. It would have been nice to have a few things, like if I still had the King Kong against the world, that'd be nice. If I had the Ahai squirt gun, that'd be nice. Those are both high-end items. What else? I don't know. The Sakuda kid. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Sakuda. It starts with a T and an S. Sakuda. I wish I had that to show you. So, but I think we did all right. I think we did pretty good, all things considered. And there's a lot of other King Kong souvenir type stuff. There's a monster Nick, like a little troll, and I have one, but I couldn't find it. I was looking through boxes, I couldn't find it. And I have some. There's like the wear a weirdo and little charms, and I have those, but I couldn't enjoy everything. And they're all in different little boxes here and there, and it was just I got to what I could, and maybe we'll revisit some of that later, some other time in a different context. Okay, so we'll have the Godzilla one soon. Might be a couple weeks though, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it in the next week, but pretty soon. I don't want it to get too far out from the movie because I want it to be timely. I want to connect it to the movie. We'll have the Godzilla one. We'll look at Godzilla's gang and Shogun Godzilla and Imperial Godzilla, and we'll have an Aurora, a vintage Aurora Godzilla. We'll listen to that, different stuff. And then, I don't know if we'll have another Mego review or not. Or some other kind of review, perhaps, of some other toys. But we might. And then we'll have the season finale, the end of the road for this season, the third season of Basement of Horror. We'll bring it to a close. Well, Billy is here, but I think we're too late. I don't think he's going to come up here. Billy, you should have got here earlier. He's over there, chewing on my King Kong toys. All right, so that's it. Thanks a lot. I hope you enjoyed it. A long, long episode, I know. But I hope it was rewarding. Thank you. Until next time, remember, the one who dies with the most toys is dead.